We tend to be afraid of the things in life that we are the least comfortable with. Humans have the potential to thrive in many different environments, and our adaptability knows few bounds. By being intentional about our approach in the given situation, we increase our odds of success. Intentionality gives us the focus to understand the problem, come up with a solution, and executing the plan to endure whilst working towards the goal. Let's look at how all these aspects tie together to become bigger than the sum of the parts. In all aspects of our lives that require some level of skill, depending on our disposition to the process of learning, we all perceive the learning phase differently. It can range from uncontrollable eagerness to throw yourself into it headfirst for something that you have wanted for a long time, to anxiously crippling fear and nervousness for being judged about something that you were pushed to accomplish and you think you lack enough proficiency to succeed in. In the same manner, we perceive risks differently than others. What we seldom consider is that risk is not binary. It's on a scale, and there are ways to be safe whilst exposed to risk. A part of it is learning to focus on critical things and let everything else pass by. We're already doing this in our daily lives. It is often a sign of proficiency. Sometimes it is a sign of recklessness, though. Let's take driving. As a new driver, we tend to try to focus on every little detail, overloading our minds and missing important things. As we get used to driving, our eyes know where to look, our hands know where to be without you having to be too aware of their movement. They put on the seatbelt without you looking, they handle the gear shift stick, your feet at the pedals doing their thing. All the while, your eyes are noting any warning signs on the panel, fuel level, any tire air pressure issues, and so on. If you know your vehicle well enough, you can even hear something failing before any other signs. You know exactly where to look when coming out of the parking lot, and your brain automatically makes you aware of anything critical on the road. Sometimes you are daydreaming and wake up when you are arriving at your destination, somewhat unaware of how you did it. We have different attention and awareness levels for different things. By practicing situational awareness in situations that might not require it, you improve your skill in moving between the different alertness levels. And eventually, it will be easy enough for you to do it effortlessly, as it is exhausting to live in the upper levels for too long. By practicing in non critical situations, you lower the barrier for something that is hard for you to face and gives you the opportunity for trial and error and growth. Things that you cannot count on if you only do it when absolutely necessary. When we experience trauma, we can get stuck in the upper levels of alertness. We might be unable to switch it according to situation. This can lead to unnecessary high levels of stress and exhaustion from being on high alert too long. You become hypervigilant. This in turn can lead to a life ruled by fear and even reduce your quality of life by imposing limits on yourself. Some key definitions and concepts: situational awareness, trauma, risk perception, alertness levels, intentionality, coping tool practice, hypervigilance. So, the situational awareness study started in aviation and spread to disparate fields such as air traffic control, military operations, transportation, power systems, law enforcement, emergency management, healthcare, space, education, mining, oil and gas operations, and so on. The studies took a hold in cognitive psychology and human factors fields. Situation awareness are models that help you perceive, understand, and respond to things around you. This is to be able to make a decision about how to react by understanding what is about to happen. There are complex models in the different areas mentioned, but to put it simply, for an individual in the context of living under certain threats, we will go through the basics. There are three simplified levels of situational awareness: perception. Through paying attention and being somewhat vigilant, we raise our awareness level. Comprehension. Processing the information from our surroundings leads to our interpretation of the current status. Our brain might see patterns or anomalies that stand out of the norm. And projection. Connecting the dots, we might anticipate the trajectory of the signs. This helps us act accordingly. Models that help us memorize actionable steps under pressure has been studied and taught in different settings. Some use words, letters, images, patterns, numbers, and so on to help us remember how to act in certain situations. There are no rights or wrongs in a general sense, as it is a complex field with complex models. The takeaway is that you need to use whatever mental models that help you in the situation you are concerned about. Some personal stories then. In one case, a person had been through a hard time with a lot of conflicts within the closest relationships. On top of a prolonged time living with the stressors of the conflict, a breach of trust leads to even more stress when something that had been shared in trust was used against the person. Long after the situation was sorted and some of the people were no longer in the person's life, the trust for other people was broken. This affected the coming relationships by hindering the trust building process that is necessary for relationships to grow and thrive. Eventually, there were too many missed opportunities in the relationships due to this. By using mental models to look for patterns, the realization of his own shortcoming in making space for the trust to grow led to a changed behavior. When we get hurt, we tend to distance ourselves from anything remotely close to the source of what caused us pain. By doing this, our brain tries to keep us safe without making a calculated assessment of the situation. While it might lead us to evade exposure to the same risk, it keeps us away from the necessary tools and schematics we need to heal, learn, and grow stronger. We might end up in an ignorant position by not practicing awareness. This might lead us to disconnect and expect irrational things from others. Some limitations. This example is a situation where the effect of the betrayal was not strong enough to be labeled as trauma, and thus was easier to assess and overcome for growing purposes. Other situations might be so traumatic that they push aside all reasoning and need profound therapy to overcome. If you identify with this, don't hesitate to reach out for professional help. So, Almer's viewpoint is train hard to fight easy. Give yourself the right conditions to be able to overcome your obstacles. Practicing your skill of using the tools and methods needed will give you a fighting chance to know where to start whenever panic or strong emotions like fear gets a paralyzing grip on you. The use of mental models to facilitate the decision making process under stress is something that we think also is applicable in cases where a person is not necessarily well trained in working with these methods. Not everyone has the interest or time to become a highly trained risk and crisis management operator, nor should they. Thus, the use of models helps increase the cognitive level on short notice. Knowing how your own mind works with memorizing models is crucial for being as effective as possible with learning new skills. If these topics are taken seriously early enough, a great initial effort to learn situational awareness through a mental model that fits you will be rewarded greatly going forward, where your efforts later need not be that high. Train hard, fight easy. Use the Almer app to document your specific situation. You need to understand which fears drive you. When you understand your situation, you need to work out which tools and behavior can help mitigate either the risk or the consequence. Next comes the research phase. What is needed for the practical implementation of these tools and habits? Finally comes the practicing and execution phase. Some limitations. If you find yourself already in the middle of the storm with little to no time and space to set up a structured and reliable plan to set in motion, then go back to the basics. Create the right conditions. Your situation might need from you to create space and breathing room as a first step. The breathing room is needed to start setting up a plan and doing the necessary research according to your specific needs. So create a space between yourself and the threat. Assess your options or what you need to do to open up even more options. Use the Almer app's journaling function to assess your situation. Involve your safety contact in an early stage. In the beginning, you might only need them to be aware of your situation and what you are intending to do. Inform them about the steps you're going to take, either through the Almer feed or Almer private message. Put down the actionable steps needed to be taken or researched. Involve your contact if your freedom is restricted or if there is a lack of time. The contact can help you with research and practical errands if needed. If you are not in direct risk of harm but suspect there is a possibility for it further down the line, start practicing and making a habit of talking and planning for this with your contact using Almer. If you don't have a close contact, you need to start there. If you can't ask someone close to you for support due to personal restrictions, then start there. Whatever obstacles there are in your way, stopping you from working with these topics in a serious way, find a way around them or remove the obstacles. Situational awareness is a good way to navigate situations or settings in a controlled fashion where there is risk. The habit of planning ahead makes you used to thinking about unpleasant topics. This will eventually take the edge off from the emotional reactions that surface. When you are used to shift between the different alertness levels, eventually you will find a flow state. When you enter a place, you might be able to do a quick high level assessment and then go down to a comfortable, sustainable level. Whenever something triggers a need for high alert, you will be used to the shifting and can go back down to normal level as soon as possible. As with any skill, we at Almer believe that practice makes perfect. On top of that, we believe that actively working with solving your problems have several beneficial effects apart from actually solving the issue. Putting your mind to work with actionable steps help you keep your anxiety in check by shifting focus. As you increase your situational awareness skills, you are also gaining control that you did not have before, except for some specific spaces like your own home, your parents' home, at the gym, or in a time aspect like if you know a perpetrator is busy at work during certain hours and thus have a safe time gap. Awareness is something that often costs something, either it be energy, convenience, or time. It is something that is experienced to be intrusive by people who are not intentional about it. If we are to find a silver lining in difficult times, it is that they sometimes forces us out of our comfort zones and make us act and do something about our situation. The agency and skills we gain by this might position us favorably for the aftermath of the situation. It is not uncommon for the victim of an abusive relation to be better prepared mentally for building a new life as they have been mentally prepared for a long time, while the perpetrator is stuck in the misery of their own doing. Practice awareness. Learn how to read your own body's signals telling you that something is wrong. It gets exponentially easier to solve something the earlier you catch it, assuming that you are aware enough to register potential threats and early red flags. Links for the information shared in this video will be down in the description. If you want to start trying out our tools or want to support us, you can find the links to our app in our community forum down in the description as well. Take care of each other and start practicing your awareness today. See you in the next video.